This is the Wealth Guardian Show on 94.5 WPTI, the Piedmont's news, talk, and sports station. I am Doug Ray. Happy New Year to you. We start another season. This is the Wealth Guardians radio show, 9th season in the Triad. And I can't thank you enough for being a listener, because obviously without you, we certainly would not be here. Since this is the first show of the new year, we've got some interesting stuff lined up for you. I want to talk about some market prognostications that are interesting, if not whimsical. And like always, I want to start the show out by thanking our veterans for everything that they do for us so that this country can still continue to be free, proud, and one nation under God. Well, let's get into the market a little bit and talk about that some, because we've had some interesting goings-on of late, especially this week. The market, I told you all last year that the market was not the healthiest I've ever seen a stock market, and it's starting to play out true to form. We're going to talk about some indicators in a bit, but one of the things that we always look at around Christmas time is the Santa Claus rally. And generally, if you get a Santa Claus rally, that indicates that typically you're going to have a positive stock market year. Guess what? We did not get a Santa Claus rally this year. I'll go in a moment and tell you what exactly constitutes a Santa Claus rally, but we didn't get one last year either. And guess what? The market actually finished down, not by a lot, but it did finish down for 2015. Now, I want to remind everybody to go on Facebook and like us. It's the Wealth Guardians radio show. We've got interesting information there, and also our website, www.thewealthguardians.com. Lots of good information on there, and also information about upcoming events that we've got planned, educational events for you folks. So with the market right now, we've got a situation brewing where obviously the Fed increased interest rates a little bit, 1/4 point, which I will come out and say that's not that big a deal. What was the big deal is over a year ago, they stopped the quantitative easing. That in and of itself is basically increasing interest rates because it's drawing liquidity from the system. And let's face it, we're long in the tooth in this market. Most uptrending markets don't last nearly as long as this one, so we're well overdue for a market downturn. My friend Tim Wood, who I've had on the show a couple times, he talks about his 5 DNA markers that have always set up at every major market top since 1896. The last time he was on the show a few months ago, we had 4 of those 5 solidly in place, and now we have the 5th one solidly in place. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we could have a pretty rough road in 2016. So we'll take a look at that, and we'll guide you as we go through the next months into this new year. Have you or anyone you know ever gone on a diet starting out the new year? You start exercising. Yeah, you're going to lose some weight, but that's not all that happens. It has a snowball effect, and one thing leads to another. You sleep better, you gain confidence, it boosts your immune system, it increases your energy, it reduces stress, you're in a better mood, and you know what? The exact same thing happens when you finally create that retirement game plan. The one thing leads to another, and it creates that snowball of benefits that impacts the different aspects of your life in ways you've never imagined. You know where you stand. You know how much you can or can't spend in retirement and how long your money will last. And that's just the beginning. A plan can also make your money go further. You'll sleep better at night, no more panic attacks, and you get clarity. You gain that confidence. And the bottom line is there's a whole lot of good that comes from creating a plan. And as we approach this new year, this is the perfect time to take control and create that retirement game plan. On today's show, I'll reveal the simple steps you can take right now to make this the most significant New Year's resolution you've ever made. And yeah, I want you to go out and exercise and lose some weight if you want to. But more importantly, it's time to actually put a written retirement income plan in place. So let's get started. Give us a call at the office at 336-391-3409. 336-391-3409. I won't charge you a penny to put this plan in place for you, and there's no obligation on your part either. All you have to do is spend a few moments with me, and we'll sit down and we'll secure your future. Well, let's get back to some fun things about the new year and market prognostication. And I like to share these every new year on the first of the year show because they can be kind of funny, but at the same time, it's interesting how accurate these prognostications can be. We talked about the Santa Claus rally just a moment ago. What exactly is a Santa Claus rally? Well, if we dig down into it and we look I got this information from the Stock Traders Almanac, but the actual Santa Claus rally is the last 5 trading days of the old year combined with the first 2 trading days of the new year. So if we go back and we measure that, then this Santa Claus rally failed miserably because we were down significantly, and it's continuing in that trend. What does that mean? Well, these Santa Claus rallies have about a 70-some-odd% predictability rate. It means if, the old rhyme that we use is if Santa Claus should fail to call, bears may come to Broad and Wall. So basically it means 2016 could be a negative year. It certainly was correct last year. I mean, 2015 was only down by, I think the Dow was down about 2% and the S&P maybe 1%. The NASDAQ was down the worst. It was down about, I think, 4 or 5%. Not a lot. Certainly nowhere near a bear market. But it very well could indicate that 2016 could get a lot worse. Now, there's the overall January effect, and that basically says as January goes, so goes the market. So we have to look at what January will bring us. If we have a positive January, that's going to bode well for the rest of the year. If it's a negative January, and it started out to be negative already, then it could be, like I said, rough road ahead. Now, my favorite one, my very favorite prognostication tool of all time is the Super Bowl indicator. Now, have you ever heard of that one? It's an interesting indicator. Believe it or not, folks, it is 81.6% accurate. Yeah, 81.6%. Of the last 49 Super Bowls, it has accurately predicted 40 of the coming year's market. Now, what is the Super Bowl indicator? Basically, it goes like this. If an old NFL team before the merger wins the Super Bowl, then you're going to have a positive market. If an old AFL team wins the Super Bowl, you're going to have a negative market. Now, for those of you who are too young enough to remember the merger, I vividly remember it. We had at one time the NFL and the AFL. And then the very first Super Bowl pitted the Green Bay Packers, my favorite team, alongside the Carolina Panthers, with the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, the Packers won. Then Super Bowl II came along, and that was the Green Bay Packers and the Oakland Raiders, and the Packers won. But then Super Bowl III happened, and Joe Namath and the New York Jets upset Johnny Unitas and the Baltimore Colts. And that led to the merger of the AFL and the NFL into what we have today, the overall NFL with the NFC and the AFC. So let's look back at last year. How did the Super Bowl indicator do? Who won that Super Bowl? Do you remember? Well, it was a pretty good Super Bowl. It was between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. And the Patriots won. And they are an old NFL or AFL team. They were the Boston Patriots back then. And sure enough, we had a negative stock market year. Well, who are you pulling for this year in the Super Bowl? Well, Don't think my Green Bay Packers are going to make it, but I sure am pulling for my Carolina Panthers. And since they are a relatively new team, they're not an old NFL team, we'll have to kind of, since they're in the NFC, we'll kind of have to root for them to win the Super Bowl so that we'll have a positive stock market year. And that's all kind of fun, interesting stuff, and I love to talk about those indicators on the first show. You know, today we've been talking about resolutions, so to speak, financial resolutions, taking control of your money and your retirement and your retirement game plan. It's going to have a snowball effect that can impact different aspects of your entire life in ways you're never going to imagine right now. Find out how with our 5-point retirement master plan. It's not about simply picking a handful of stocks. It's much deeper than stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, and stuff like that. It's a comprehensive plan that covers everything. All of the things that we're talking about on today's show and then some. And when all of these things work together, it can have a profound impact on your lifestyle in retirement. The sooner you get started, the better off you're going to be. So if you're recently retired or within 5 years of retiring, either side of that, and you've got $100,000 saved up for retirement, call to schedule your free 5-point retirement master plan. That number is 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. I don't charge you a penny to do these, and there's no obligation on your part. If you like the plan, wonderful. I want to welcome you aboard as a new Wealth Guardians client. And if you don't, that's okay. At least we've met, we've made friends, and, I hope you have a great retirement lifestyle. Well, we'll be back in just a moment with more Wealth Guardians here on 94.5 WPTI, the Piedmont's News Talk and Sports Station. 94.5 WPTI, the Piedmont's News Talk and Sports Station. Welcome back. I'm Doug Ray, and you're listening to the Wealth Guardians radio program. Today, we're talking about how a financial resolution can create a snowball of benefits. You know where you stand. You know how much you can or can't spend in retirement and how long your money will last. It also makes money go further. You'll get that clarity and that confidence and that peace of mind you've always wanted about your retirement. The bottom line, there's a whole lot of good that can come from creating that plan. So on today's show, I'm going to reveal some simple steps you can take right now to make this the most significant New Year's resolution that you've ever made. So let's dig right into it. Remember all those financial goals you made for yourself? Maybe you made some New Year's resolutions already, but maybe you made these goals months back or even years back. How's that going for you? This would be the year you said that you'd get serious about saving for retirement and fattening up those emergency funds. You vowed to write a will, buy more life insurance, or save for a house. If you didn't stick to those resolutions, you're not alone. According to Fidelity Investments, a survey that they released at the beginning of the year, out of 2014 respondents, 31% said they made financial resolutions, and according to the data gathered, only 8% of people are successful at achieving those resolutions. 8%. That's an amazing number. The good news is you still got plenty of time to get back on track. Now, let's talk about how to do that. First off, why don't you do an autopsy? An autopsy, yeah. An autopsy of your goals. Remind yourself why your goal is important. In other words, keep your eye focused on the ball, the long haul. Find somebody that's going to help you be accountable. Maybe your spouse. That would be the ideal person, but if not your spouse, somebody else, a good friend, and a family member maybe. Be willing to adjust your plan for achieving your goals. Things are not going to be perfect in life. There's going to be things that will come up that you didn't expect, and you'll have to work your way around them. So be flexible. So what's your New Year's resolution? Find out how creating that retirement game plan could result in that snowball effect. Let me tell you what we do to create that plan. I've asked you before to come in and let's sit down and do it. It's free. There's no obligation. But let me just give you an example of what we're going to do. When you come in for that first appointment, I'm going to ask you to bring some information. Things like tax returns, investment statements, life insurance, annuity policies, maybe even your will. When's the last time you looked at your will? Does it need to be updated? I had a couple in right before Christmas, and they hadn't looked at their will since they made it 15 years ago, and they lived in New York then. Well, when big things change like that, when you make a move, the kids are out of the house now, they've grown up, don't you think you ought to look at your will and see if it needs to be updated? Theirs certainly did. So we're going to take a look at all that for you. We're also going to take a look at your beneficiary statements on, say, your IRAs, your life insurance, your annuities, things like that, because a beneficiary statement, folks, trumps a will. And that goes to the Supreme Court. So you want to make sure you've got your beneficiary statements the way that you want them to be, especially, if you've gone through a divorce or you've lost a spouse and you've remarried, things like that. There are horror stories out there. I've even relayed some of them to you on this radio program. So you want to make sure that those are correct in the way you want them to be. So we'll gather all that stuff together. We'll sit down. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions on that first meeting. Tell you a little bit about me. Most of the time people come in, they've already been on the website a couple times. They've read some stuff. They've looked at our past and my history and so forth. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I've been in this business a long time. I've got a bunch of letters after my name. That's because I work hard at my craft. I want to be as good of an advisor as I possibly can and give you the latest information about the retirement planning industry and all the changes, like the recent Social Security changes and how that might impact you. So as we work our way through all the questions and so forth, I'm taking a lot of notes. I'm listening to you. I'm looking for what kinds of things interest you. Is it your church? Is it working for a special charity? Is it traveling? It could be just about anything. And I want to create this retirement income plan for you that allows you to have the ability to be able to pursue these interests that you have. This little sit down together will take us maybe an hour and a half. Depends upon how many questions you have and so forth. And once that's over with, then it'll take me about a week or so to put your plan together. And then we'll meet again at your convenience, and we'll go over that plan. And that plan is going to show you a written income plan for your retirement. My goal in all of these plans is to get everybody through age 100 without running out of money and running out of their standard of living. We want to make sure you maintain your standard of living. Now, what do we have to do in an income plan to do that? Well, number one, we have to make sure we adjust for inflation. Number two, we have to account for taxes. And we blend all this together with tax efficiency and Social Security maximization. Maybe we create some Roth accounts for you. Maybe we create that tax-free income that I think is going to be golden in a few years, because I believe taxes are going to be headed a lot higher over the course of the next several years. Maximize those Social Security benefits. Yes, there are still ways to do it. I know you've heard about the changes, but there's still strategies out there. Maybe the old file and suspend spousal benefit goes away for you, but there are plenty of other strategies we can use to maximize your Social Security benefits. And one of the most important things in maximizing that Social Security benefit is for the surviving spouse, because if you remember, the surviving spouse gets the higher of the two benefits. They don't get to keep them both. They get the higher of the two. So by maximizing that Social Security benefit, then you're going to be able to pass along the highest possible benefit to your spouse. So that's all a part of the overall planning process. As we sit down, I'm going to give you a hard copy printout of everything, the income plan, the Social Security, the recommendations. I'm going to recommend to you how to best situate your assets based on your desires, your needs, your goals, and so we can create the growth that we need to maintain a standard of living and make sure you don't run out of money in your lifetime. And as I said before, ideally, I want to get everybody through age 100. You say age 100, that seems like overkill. It may seem like overkill to you, but I'll tell you what, we are living longer. And the way I look at it, if I can create a plan that gets you through age 100, then we've covered about 95% of the probability. As I said before, once you've looked at that plan, I don't force you to make any kind of a snap decision right then and there. I don't want you to do that. If you want to go away and think about it, meet again, go over some questions that you come up with, wonderful. I welcome that. But ultimately, it's about you, and it's about making sure that you have a successful retirement. And one of the things I've noticed, and I've been doing this a long time, is that the vast majority of you only need to average about 5% per year, and you're going to be absolutely fine. It's when you really start trying to go for the big double-digit returns, that's what gets most people in trouble, because when you go for those big double-digit returns, oftentimes you strike out and you get some negative returns in there. And if you get too many negative returns in your retirement, then you could get yourself in a whole lot of trouble. So it's a pretty easy process. I welcome everybody in to do that. Just give us a call at the office. It's 336-391-3409. And so we get to the point where we've got the plan built. Then what comes next? So once you've made the decision that you want to work with us, then we go to the implementation stage. And what does that mean? That basically means, well, if we're going to do this and do it right, then that means basically transferring different investments to different accounts, setting those up. Maybe you need to take income right away. Maybe you can delay taking income. Maybe there's a strategy I've built in there to create conversions from IRAs to Roth. Maybe you've left some 401ks behind at previous employments. We need to get those rolled over and get those working for you. So we go through that implementation stage. And once all that comes together, then we finally get you on course in your retirement. But it's not done, not by a long shot. We have at least one review a year. Now, we can meet more often than that. I welcome you in my office anytime. But at minimum, we have to meet once a year to do an annual review. And here's why. Number one, obviously, we want to take a look at what's happened in the previous year. How have those investments performed? Have they done well? Have they not? Do we need to make some changes there? But really, more importantly, things don't stay status quo with you. You know, your life changes. Maybe your goals change. Maybe your needs change. Maybe you've decided to move to Florida or Arizona. So if that's the case, then we have to adjust that plan to make sure that we accommodate the changes that go in your situation. So we've done literally hundreds and hundreds of these types of plans over the years for clients right here in the Triad. I'd sure like to have you in and do one for you. Maybe you just need a second opinion about what you're already doing. And if you're doing a good job at it, hey, I've got no problem telling you that. But come in and let's sit down and take a look at your situation at numbers 336-391-3409. You know, you want to take control of your money and your retirement, and you think you've got a pretty good handle on it. But, you know, you're missing some pieces to the puzzle, and this is where we can help. We've literally helped hundreds of people right here in the Triad in the exact same position you are now. So take us up on our offer. It's free, there's no obligation, and there's no pressure. All you got to do is call us at 336-391-3409. Well, here we are at the end of the first show of the new year, and I'm looking forward to spending a lot more time with you as we go through this year. I'm going to have Tim Wood back. I've got some other things cooking in the background for you, and I think it's going to be a very, very successful year for us, regardless of what the Super Bowl indicator will bring us. So we'll be right back here with you next week. This is the Wealth Guardians. I'm Doug Ray, and this is 94.5 WPTI, the Piedmont's News Talk and Sports Station.